As we continue our journey in learning biology, we look back at what we've learned so far about molecules and how they build building blocks and all the way up to cells. We learned about how cells are put together to form tissues, and now it's time to look at how tissues form organs. So let's think about one organ like the heart. Hearts actually have all four of the tissue types that we learned about exist in animals. They have muscles, they have nerves, they have connective tissue, and they have the epithelium that separates chambers from the blood and the vessels from the blood that pumps through them. They have all four. And most organs in the body do. Even the largest organ, the skin, which you might think is only epithelial cells, actually has, of course, little muscles that pull on the hairs, that has nerves that can feel. And so really everything has all four of the tissue types in them. And of course, these tissue types are not arranged willy-nilly inside of an organ, which is sort of the theme of biology. Everything is very carefully laid out, woven together to provide the structure that can do the function that needs to be done. A heart needs to pump blood. So the muscles are arranged such that they can push on the organ in the right way to pump the blood through the body. Each organ performs a special function. For example, the blood for heart, the stomach for food, the skin for sensing and protecting. And you can imagine why that's important for an organism. How could you have an organism absorb food equally in all directions? Even tiny multicellular organisms have several cells deep. So the inner cells are not going to be able to absorb the food as effectively as the outer cells. And bringing the food into a central location and then distributing it from that central location is key to keeping the organism alive. And organisms have systems of organs within their body. For example, the brain is an organ, and the spine can be considered a separate organ, and yet together they make up the central nervous system. Getting to know the organs in the body is wonderful, and you probably already know many of the organs that exist inside your body. But another activity that would be helpful at this stage is just to look back on where we've been and look forward on where we're going and count how many hierarchical levels we have, starting with those molecular machines at the bottom and working your way up. How many do you think we are at? How many levels have we gone? Go back in your mind and think and write that down. And then guess forward, how many levels do you think we still have left to learn before we get to the biosphere? It's an interesting exercise. An interesting story is about organs, how they are being nowadays printed with inkjet type printing technology. In fact, in the university where I work, students bought printers off of eBay and got them to start printing their biological substrates for them, just regular old printers. You can put ink into the ink wells and let that print out ink and have a nice printed page, or you can empty out the ink, clean it out, and put in a solution of cells and print out the cells. You could imagine having, instead of 4 different color cartridges, 4 different cell types to make different layers of cells in different orders. And the nice thing is you don't have to even print it exactly right. The cells, once they're close to one another, know how to grow together and link up and form the tissues in the proper layers to make something that could actually work. It's interesting how at the university where I work, they were even able to print a bladder and implant it into a human. Now, it wasn't complete with all the things that a bladder normally is complete with the nerves and the muscles just right. So this was a bladder that couldn't work as well as a normal bladder, but it certainly worked better than the one that the human who was receiving this bladder had before, and it was an improvement. So this is a sign of things to come, and it's called regenerative medicine because it's the idea of regenerating our body with some of the cells that we can take out of our own body, growing them up, printing them out, and putting them back into our body. This is not science fiction. This is actually happening, and you're learning about it by learning about biology. If you're going a little deeper, this is when you could probably learn a little bit about the leaf. What is the structure and primary functions of the major organ systems? It's a beefy leaf that you can learn about all the different things, and you can then go into the branch about how do organisms coordinate organs and tissues to maintain their homeostasis. It's a leaf you may have looked at already in a branch. The first leaf I mentioned lists 10 major organ systems of most animals. And the branch and its leaf builds on the previous reading about homeostasis so you can have a fuller picture of how the body maintains its current environment.